Representative Barbara Lee, right, serving the people, gets denied access. She talks about this story where she's denied access to vote because, well, they don't believe she's an elected official. Here it is.
Racism, institutional racism, is in the DNA of this country. When you look at what has taken place, look at our Native Americans, the genocide of Native Americans. When you look at what is taking place as it relates to African Americans, the 250 years plus of enslaving African Americans, and then you look at the disparities now in our community in terms of health care, unemployment, the wealth gap, housing. You can't tell me that systemic racism does not exist. It's not just a little kink. Secondly, you have personal racism, which is hard to address, but I'll give you one little story that shows you why we need to understand that I don't think she really understands racism. I was walking from the House building on Capitol Hill to the Capitol, and a man, a white guy, stopped me and told me I could not get into the members' elevator. And, you know, we have pins, and I was going to vote. And he blocked me from getting into the elevator and told me I was not a member of Congress and it was for members only. I said, sir, I'm a member of Congress. And I showed him my pen, and he said, whose pen did you steal? Now, this is an example of what personal racism is and how people of color constantly have to deal with this each and every day. But systemic racism is in the policies of this country. And just look at what they're trying to do in terms of eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're trying to not allow for an equal and level playing field. And so it's a very dangerous position that she has. She's clueless.
Yeah, and I concur with the Congresswoman. I'll put up the picture full mass. A couple of things to highlight here. Number one, Senator Tim Scott recounts a similar incident. We're going to get into that in just a moment. The fact that she has to respond to the comments of a Governor Nikki Haley when everyone knows it's just gaslighting from Haley and Republicans. But we're forced to respond to this mess. The representative made these comments back in January. U.S. representative. She's represented the state of California since 1998. 1998. Lee never shared when this incident happened exactly. So we know it took place at some point during her 25-year tenure in Congress. But right-wing proponents on the social media platform X believe she completely fabricated the story. And they decided to invoke the name of Jussie Smollett to attempt to make a point. Quote, I'm going to go with this never actually happened. How very Jussie Smollett of you, one X user wrote. Quote, Representative Barbara Lee has been awarded the 2024 Jussie Smollett Award. Congratulations, Barbara. Another person commented. Some online came to Lee's defense, calling out right-wingers hypocrisy, as well as the deadly ramifications of racism. Jussie Smollett is trending again, which means tons of MAGA and a few blue wave people are using that incident to delight themselves in a cesspool of racism, denialism. Another person wrote, friendly reminder, non-black people falsely accused African Americans of crimes for centuries. Meanwhile, Senator Tim Scott, do you remember? He shared a similar story. Here it is.
So it's easy to identify a U.S. senator by our pen. I recall walking into an office building just last year after being here for 5 years on the Capitol. And the officer looked at me with a little attitude and said, the pen, I know. You, I don't. Show me your ID. I'll tell you, I was thinking to myself, either he thinks I'm committing a crime impersonating a member of Congress, or what? Well, I'll tell you that later that evening, I received a phone call from his supervisor apologizing for the behavior. Mr. President, that is at least the third phone call that I received from a supervisor or the chief of police since I've been in the Senate.
This is at his place of work. He has been discriminated against multiple times, but will play but America is not a racist country card in order to obtain power for himself, right? Okay. The right won't attack him, but they will attack Representative Barbara Lee. Why will they not attack him for these stories? Because he puts icing on BS. And the icing is, but still, America is not a racist country. And for some reason, that makes all of his encounters with racism believable to the GOP. But when Barbara Lee, when she keeps it real authentic all the way through, she's not being honest. All right, hell of a thing here, Jackson. Hypocrisy is ever before them.
I think another reason is that Tim Scott, ain't nobody really listening to him. So when he says things, you know what I mean? So like when he says things like that, like unless we play it on this show, like nobody's gonna see it. So if he was like had more charisma or more of a boisterous personality, something like that, then perhaps he could cause a problem. But then he may not be in that position at all.
Yeah.
But I think first let me say that the Senate race is filled with some nice candidates down there in California. We got Barbara Lee, we got Katie Porter. And Katie Porter, she got even more time ahead of her just in terms of her career. So that's looking pretty nice.
It's a very talented pool. Let me say that.
Absolutely. But real quick, I think one of the most important things that she pointed out is, you can say, oh, there's no racism in the country, but look at all the efforts to take away diversity, equity, and inclusion of all kinds, whether it be in the work environment or the educational environment. So They know what's going on.
They know what's up. Agreed.